Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC Fight Night Santos V Hill. For the first time in a long time, it's a complete scorecard. It's all finishes, no decisions. This is amazing. This is beautiful. I love this. This is the stuff that gets me giddy because no fight can be ruined. Now, as I was thinking that, okay, in my head, in the back of my head, I was thinking, oh my God, for the first time ever, we might get what I am chasing, which is an immaculate scorecard, a perfect scorecard, right? If you're a fan of baseball, you know about immaculate innings. Some of them can be immaculate in the sense of some balls would be called strikes, but forget about that for a second. This had the potential, keyword had, to be an immaculate scorecard. I was watching it all the way through, up until I'd say Luque versus Neal round 2 is where I was like, okay, maybe a judge will give it to Luque because it's a pretty close round, blah, blah, blah. And then when I checked, after the fights ended, I checked it and I was like, okay, let me see if they did it. And in fact, they did. They fucked it. We went 10 for 10 on finishes, and then they fucked it on the scorecards. In particular, the last 3 scorecards. We'll start from the top. First of all, I just wanted to notice something. The first fight of the night, Bueno Silva versus Edgar, ended in the submission in the first round, but we don't know if it was a tap. Now, based off of Edgar's face, she kind of did that thing where she was like, I'm not really going to lie because maybe there are cameras around or whatever, but I'm not going to say, okay? She gave that face, but she never said if she tapped or not. Now, in my opinion, did she tap? Probably based off her face. She looks guilty, whatever. But during the broadcast, they asked Ron McCarthy, which was a judge who was essentially could see the hands. Here's my issue with that. Is that even fair? I don't think it's the job of I know he's judging it, and so he can see it. If you look at one of the camera angles, as she taps, his face remains still. It's not as though, you know the face you make when, you've seen judges' faces where someone will get knocked out and their face lifts from like a low stance to a high stance of, oh, the fight is over, we move on. His face kind of just remains the same. I'm not saying he's lying, but I don't think this is a good thing where we're in positions now where if the camera cannot catch the tap, we're just asking people ringside. That would make no sense, and it doesn't sound like a really good thing going forward. But that's just a little footnote off the top of my head. Anyways, we have no injustices because all of them ended in a finish. But what I thought would never happen is the thing that I've been screaming and whining about for about a year now. Is judges fucking up the shit that I call, is not even I call, the shit that most MMA fans would call, you're not doing anything with these takedowns, you just get the round apparently. Or in Saul Diamato's case, which I'll get into, you just scored the round incorrectly. We're going to go straight into it. First honorable mention. Okay, first honorable mention is Usman versus Pauga. I'm going to say Pauga. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry. Fight ended in a KO in the second round for Usman. I scored the first round at 10-9 for Pauga. There is no contesting this. This is a 10-9 on everyone's scorecard, including God's. Okay? You go to the judges' scorecards. Okay? And just to set this up, it's a 10-9 for Pauga. In that round, he outstruck Usman, essentially almost via leg kicks. Usman barely landed any shots, really. Pauga outstruck him via leg kicks. He landed maybe a couple of head strikes, but if not almost all of them were leg kicks. And I was just confused. I knew we've seen strikes like this before. That Levitt versus Ogden, round 2. You can just rattle off. What's his name? O'Malley versus Munoz. You can name fights like this. I thought this was easy to score. It was, and then as I was checking this, I looked at the judges' scorecards. Derek clearly had the first round for Pauga, 10-9. Tony Weeks had it 10-9. But Tony Weeks, whose scorecards I kind of don't like, 10-9 for Pauga. I'm not saying he's dumb, but he had this right here. And then Saul Diamata had it 10-9 for Usman. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. It actually doesn't make any sense. A 10-9 for Usman in the first round is criminal. It's absolutely criminal. And what I want to know is, if they do discuss these scorecards in the back, I want to know on what planet do they sit down in a room and go, hey, Saul, you scored the first round for Usman. What did you see? You're going to tell me that, yeah, despite being outstruck by all of Pauga's leg kicks, he landed maybe like 10 head strikes. Maybe 5 of them actually landed cleanly. So 5 jabs. What? He got outstruck. It makes no sense. This is bad. On a night where no one's scorecards are going to be looked at, this is actually freaking bad. So there's that. So honorable mention there to Saul Diamata. It's a fucking terrible scorecard. I didn't think I would have to talk. I thought I was going to jump in, intro, say a bunch of cool stuff, and then just dip. But they ruined the immaculate scorecard. I wanted immaculate. We were so close. If these were all finishes in the first round, I probably would have just jumped in. Hello, blah, blah, blah. Good night. God bless, blah. No. Second honorable mention, Luque versus Neal. This fight ended in a KO for Neal in the third round. I gave a 10-9 to Neal in the first and the second. I put a close mark on the second round. The second one was very close. I'll explain in a second. So in that first round, Neal outstruck and he dropped Luque. That's apparent. That's 100%. Second round, it was close on the feet. Luque had kind of started kind of nice, and then he ended not too well. I think in the latter half of that second round, Neal had started to really pick up his strikes and land on him. But by the end of that round, the strikes were pretty close. And what had it for me was the takedown mixed in with the close strikes. Gave that round to Neal for me. Maybe for the other judges it was the same, or maybe it was the fact that just Neal ended better, because they were both kind of trading up until maybe some parts where Luque had him, and then some parts where Neal had him up until the end. Strikes were for me. Strikes were close, and then Neal had the takedown in the middle of the second round. That's what gave him the round. But I put a close marker because Luque had some heavy moments where he was kind of outstriking him for a bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if I looked back and I saw Luque's strike numbers were higher than Neal's in the second round. But and then also that takedown that I highlighted, Neal really didn't do anything with it. It was just a slight takedown and then back up. So that's my reasoning, and that's what I wrote down for those two rounds. You go to the two judges' scorecards, and Mike Bell, he has the same way as me. Ron McCarthy has the same way as me, and Douglas Crosby also has the same way as me. Let me take that back, actually. I just read this for the first time. Ron McCarthy has it 10-8 in the first round for Neal. I'm not a fan of these. This is a funny thing I've noticed recently. Yes, he got dropped. I understand that when people get dropped multiple times, there's a tendency to put the 10-8. Luque was wobbled multiple times, but he was still striking back efficiently. This is not a 10-8. I think the honorable mention to Ron McCarthy. I've noticed a trend here when people get kind of rocked a little bit, they tend to give out 10-8s. Yes, he was outstriking him. This isn't a classic 10-8 on the feet. Okay, there's some rarities in 10-8s on the feet, but no, I don't agree with this at all. I'm not liking this trend of people getting rocked. I understand he got dropped in this round and outstruck heavily, but I don't think it's enough to give him a 10-8. To give Neal a 10-8 in that first round. So honorable mention to Ron McCarthy. I really don't like that scorecard. So let me re-say this again. Mike Bell had it 28. Mike Bell had the first two rounds a 10-9 for Neal. Same for Douglas Crosby. And then Ron McCarthy had a 10-8 in the first for Neal, then a 10-9 in the second for Neal. We go to the last scorecard, last honorable mention, Santos versus Hill. This fight ended in a TKO for Hill in the 4th round. I gave the first round to Santos, and then the last 2 rounds I gave to Hill. Excuse me, the second and the third round I gave to Hill. In that first round, Santos basically outstruck Hill mostly with leg kicks. Hill didn't land a lot of strikes at all in that first round, so you give that round to Santos, obviously. And then the second, Hill outstruck Santos, clear as day. Santos had a takedown, but Hill got up relatively quickly. Santos did nothing with that takedown, and Hill outstruck him in that second. In the third round, okay, this is the one that I knew would... I've seen too many of these rounds at this point to where I know it's going to be an honorable mention, because a lot of modern judges don't... Let me rephrase it. A lot of American judges don't score rounds this way. I keep referencing the European judges. They are more likely, actually, to score... It's a really interesting thing, because the scoring criteria highlights the striking goes above grappling. Now, there has been times where I've scored heavy grappling, people who have, like, let's say there's a round where a guy outstruck somebody on the feet, but the other guy took him down 5 times, right? But the strikes are relatively close. It's not like he outstruck him so far that you give him the round. I gave that round to the grappler. But in this situation, it's something that I'm noticing where American judges are favoring the grappling, the heavy grappling. Okay, and then foreign judges are favoring the striking in these grappling exchanges. Example being, third round, Santos had 4 takedowns. Let me reiterate that he did almost nothing with these takedowns. There was one takedown, maybe the fourth or it was the third one. I think it was the third one because took him down at the end. There was maybe the third one where Santos maybe landed 2 head strikes. Other than that, he did nothing with every single one of these takedowns. And in each exchange, Hill not only outstruck him on the feet, he outstruck him in the clinch when he got up from these takedowns, and he outstruck him even on the bottom. This is his round 100%. This is another example of somebody working on the bottom or just getting up and working or working on the cage. And I knew once I put down my pencil and I put 10-9 for Hill, I was like, they're not gonna score for him. And lo and behold, you look at these, Derek Clearly, we'll read the scorecards. He gave the first to Santos, 10-9. Gave the second to Hill, 10-9. And then he gives the third to Santos. I'm lost for... No. It's just a no. All 3 of us were watching the same thing. No. We go to Saul D'Amato, who has it the exact same way Derek Clearly has it. And then Junichiro Kamijo actually scored it the way I had it, which is the correct way to score it. I'm not even trying to be like, I'm better than blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying this is the correct way to score it. There's no other way to score this. Now, you can make an argument if he got up and then he kept maybe a couple more takedowns. Man landed no strikes in these exchanges, did nothing with these takedowns. Okay, I understand there's an argument of what is effective grappling and this and that. It's not effective grappling. There were no subs. Okay. There was no strikes other than maybe 2. Junichiro Kamijo gave that third round and the second round to Hill. He gave the first round to Santos. So honorable mention there to Saul D'Amato and Derek Clearly. That's all I got. Other than that, beautiful night of fights. Almost an immaculate scorecard. I thought we were going to get it. When I read this thing and I saw Saul gave Usman the first round, I knew that was fucked. We can never get a perfect card. The only way to get a perfect card, most likely, is if all these fights end in the first round. And that's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. As always, thank you for listening, and God bless.